Many Americans spent countless hours planning, from vacations, college, to weddings, and even the birth of a child. But one thing we don't plan for is an event we can't avoid, and that is death.
It's a scary topic. People don't want to talk about hospice. They don't want to talk about end of life. They don't want to talk about dying.
But that all changes when someone walks through the doors of Mesilla Valley Hospice.
All of hospice's patients are terminally ill, which means the Medicare definition is that a doctor has given them a prognosis of 6 months or less. So if the disease runs the normal course, they have 6 months or less to live.
The hospice operates La Posada, the first freestanding hospice house in New Mexico, which means patients come here when they can no longer stay in their own home at the end of their life.
Because typically, up until the time you're told, there's little time left, things are happening to you. You go and you're told to go get tests and this, that, and the other. And so helping them kind of refocus on what do they want to accomplish? Obviously, one of our major medical goals is that they be pain-free and comfortable. So we focus on that.
The goal of hospice workers is to help every patient take charge of their own life.
I describe it as a place where it's a transition. We're all not here forever, and it's the best time at the end. If you're unable to stay at home, if you're here in La Posada, it's a pretty nice place. It helps the families if they're unable to care for their loved one. It gives them that burden off of them.
Melanie Benavides is a certified nursing assistant and helps with life skills, getting patients in and out of the shower and moving them from one location to the other.
They're just like children, really. You learn from kids. They say things to you, make you laugh, sometimes make you cry, make you mad. So it's a lot. Sometimes they're very knowledgeable and they tell you things like, wow, I never knew that. Tell you about their history, their family, where they came from. So it's very rewarding.
As a hospice worker, taking care of a patient can be quite difficult and emotionally draining.
It has a very unique dynamic. You get attached to them and you feel sad for them. And then if they're very sick, you sometimes pray for them to go to their next stage, because here on earth it's painful for them if they're very ill. So yeah, it's hard.
La Posada can be described as a home away from home for patients, their family, and friends. It's a place designed to give people comfort as they support their loved ones.
It is a job, and but it is a very rewarding job. The separation is that you've done your best for them for the day. You gave your best today for them. And then you go home and you relax and you give the best for your family.
There are 30 beds available at La Posada. Hospice workers care for about 24 patients every day, and it's a team effort that includes doctors, nurses, social workers, clergy, volunteers, and personal care assistants.
Obviously, we have staff that have been here a long time, and basically almost every single one of their patients die. And so we do try to do some various staff support activities in various ways to help them work through their own grief process, because they do get very attached to their patients. Obviously, they're professionals, but on the other hand, they're human. They connect with their patients, they connect with the patient's family, and so they too suffer a loss when their patient dies.
Death is a very difficult thing to cope with for many families. So hospice workers say talking about it can sometimes make things easier.
People always say, oh, I never have to use you. You're wonderful, but I hope I never have to use you. And often I want to say to them, oh no, you want to use us. Because the truth of the matter is, and this is the hard thing that none of us want to acknowledge, we are all going to die. There's absolutely nothing we can do to avoid that inevitable consequence. But all Americans think that we're all going to die in our sleep when we're 100, with no medical crisis, no anything. The reality is that's just not the case.
When it comes to hospice care and helping our loved ones through their final stages of life, workers make it their business to assure patients are very well taken care of.
for anyone. We love our loved ones. Nobody wants to think about, hey, I'm losing my grandmother. Hey, I'm losing my spouse. I'm losing my child. So part of our job is to help them navigate through all of the emotions and acknowledge that, yes, you're going to be angry. Yes, you're going to be sad. You're going to have this whole range of emotions, and it's all normal. And so us helping them work through that process so they can really take advantage of whatever time they have left.
Hospice workers have a lot of questions when patients first arrive for care.
What do they want to accomplish in whatever time they have left, rather than, focusing, oh, I'm dying. Well, yes, but we all are. They just happen to have a blessing in that they know exactly how much time they have left, so they can get really laser focused on what they want to accomplish. And that's our goal, to help them accomplish that.
Paying for funeral services is among the long list of things family members deal with, and that's when social worker Denise Vogel-Armfield steps in as she helps ease the stress of it all.
Of course, there's many stresses, and they tend to really build up at the end of life, and then everything kind of boils up. But as far as financial resources, we have a program through the county that can help assist a person with the cost of what we call routine care here at La Posada.
Saving for funeral costs is the ideal method of reducing the burden, but hospice workers say not a lot of people ever think about financially preparing for death.
I think there's still such a stigma about death in our society that people just don't want to think about saving for a funeral or a cremation. Ideally, those conversations would already be done by the time they get to hospice. But usually by the time they get on hospice, they have to deal with the situation as it is right then.
It's an ordinary day at Mesilla Valley Hospice, and Father Donald Joseph Adamski is making his rounds.
I try to bring people back to where they can feel at peace with God.
As chaplain, Father Adamski plays a major role in helping families heal.
One of my duties is, when I visit the family, is to first ask them how they're doing, and then if they would like, I read scripture to them, and I talk about the scripture in relationship to their life. I usually choose the scripture passage, usually pray the Our Father, Lord's Prayer. And if they're Catholic, of course, some of them will want to receive Holy Communion, so I also do that.
He doesn't just focus on one religion. Instead, he helps patients embrace their spirituality as they near death.
If a person has been connected to a church, or necessarily has to have religion, because we try to differentiate between religion and spirituality. Some people might have a deep belief in God and belief in Jesus Christ, but they don't belong to any particular organized religion, as they would say. And so my duty is just to say, okay, can I meet you on a spiritual level as opposed to on a religion level?
Father Adamski spends a lot of time with patients and family members, as does volunteer Tom Snavely, who's used hospice once before.
Hospices, we're living until we die, and there's very much a lot of life in this institution, in this place.
Snavely has been a volunteer for 3 years and brings much needed assistance to patients. Leaders with hospice say many of the volunteers are doing more than just lending the team a helping hand. They're bringing enjoyment into the lives of their patients.
I would much rather know that I've made a difference in somebody's life, as opposed to saying, gosh, I felt sorry for them because they're dying. You know, I mean, death from birth, we're all terminal. I mean, and death is inevitable, but it's how we handle it and how we view death. And if I've helped somebody view death as a positive and as a change instead of an end, then hopefully I've made a difference for not only the terminal patient, but also for the family around them.
You really want your family to know what your wishes are.
Sitting in her office at Mesilla Valley Hospice, Executive Director Donna Brown is preparing a few important documents for families to review.
I mean, we all remember the Terry Schiavo case. What a nightmare. And the truth of the matter is, nobody won in that scenario because the family is totally divided, will forever be divided. It just got nasty and ugly. It polarized our country. And the truth of the matter is, it could have been totally avoided if Terry would have put in writing this is what I would want.
The document, created by the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation, is a list of 5 wishes a person can make to ensure they get full control of their medical treatment if they ever fall ill.
And there's no right answer. It's what would you personally want? Do I want to be hooked up to machines, every possible intervention taken to the very, very end? That might be what you want. Or it could be, hey, I'd like you to intervene as much as possible, and when there looks like there's no hope, then I'd like to go to hospice. Those are the conversations that we want to encourage people to have.
And the perfect time is now, when most families come together for the holidays.
It might sound weird, but maybe like for Thanksgiving, when everyone's home, everyone's together, kind of sit down and bring up the topic of, hey, you know what, I've been thinking about doing my advanced directives.
Mesilla Valley Hospice provides these documents for free and also in Spanish. Leaders with hospice say it helps families begin to talk about death, a subject many people rather not have.
It really kind of brings up this taboo topic of, oh, well, you know, if we talk about it, something bad might happen. Well, the truth of the matter is death is coming for all of us, whether we talk about it or don't talk about it.
Whether you're 18 or 81, leaders with hospice say everyone should be discussing the future and people's final stage of life. For KRWG, I'm Carlos Correa.